Well, it's time for another gardening week. We've just had one hell of a storm here. Extremely windy, and it put down a lot of rain as well. And as a result, all the plots around me are all really badly flooded. So on this side, you can see this is probably the worst. And over on that side, it's not too bad. It's just about navigable. And down the bottom there, it's just flooded at the far end. But yeah, I've spent 8 years building up the level of my plot to the point at which it soaks up an enormous amount of water in these paths, and because it's nice and level now, it used to slope, it kind of traps the water on it, but it also just holds the water in the beds and in the paths rather than dropping it onto the neighbouring plots. But because it's also very high, it also doesn't flood itself, so quite an improvement. And I'm just on the allotment today just to do a little bit of a harvest. I'm just going to pick a few of these. These are kind of bonus carrots now. These are the ones really for autumn, but there's a few of them left, and I want to get them picked, fairly soon, just in case we have some bad weather again. And ideally I'd like to get this bed replanted, but I don't know whether we'll have a weather window that allows me to do that now. At least I can get it mulched and with new compost, can't I? Anyway, I think that'll do us for carrots for this week. So I'll clean those up a little bit and just picked a few Jerusalem artichokes as well. Everything's looking pretty good actually. These were my latest carrots. I think something around the middle of July I think I planted these, and I haven't even started my winter carrots yet, so it's quite nice to be in this position. So I'm on to brassicas now, and I picked a red cabbage last week and we've still got half of that left, so I just picked some lovely little kale leaves there. These are the sort that I really love this time of year. They're so dense, the leaf curl is so dense. It makes for absolutely gorgeous kale, and really tender as well. And I'm just picking these like little kale leaves as well. But what I really want at this time of year are the colettes, and got quite a nice selection of those. And mainly, I'm eating colettes and Brussels, so I'm going to pick some Brussels. And yeah, they're looking a bit scrappy, but once you take the couple of outer leaves off, then they're fine. I don't know how farmers do it. When you look at farmers' Brussels, they're always so clean. They never seem to have any dead leaves on the outside. I don't know whether they've got some sort of machine to take them off, or whether they just sort of spray them or something with something that stops moulds developing. I don't know. Anyway, I've got quite a lot of Brussels, so certainly enough to see me through until the end of winter, I think. And this variety, Brest, it seems to hold pretty well, although there's a bit of damage on some of them. Anyway, that'll do me. Debbie doesn't like Brussels, so yeah, that's all for me this week. So I'm going to get a couple of leeks, and let's see if I can get them out without a fork. So this bed I'm just pulling now, this is the bed this is the autumn bed. So the winter bed's down there, and it's looking pretty good. So that'll do me really. I think 3 leeks this week, because it's only a short week, should be more than enough. Yeah, those cleaned up quite nicely. So now I'm on to spinach, and this year we haven't grown as much spinach as we've grown in previous years. Debbie decided that she didn't want quite as much over winter, and now I think maybe I haven't grown quite enough. I don't know, it's hard to always sort of predict exactly how much you need. But I think I've probably got enough for a couple of boxes a week, which is, yeah, it's probably enough. I don't like to take too much off each plant, you know, because I want to leave a fair amount of leaf to support regrowth. So I tend to take just a couple of leaves off each plant at this time of year. It's a bit time consuming to do that. It's obviously nothing like spring where you can basically cut every leaf off and it'll all be regrown, you know, 1 or 2 weeks later. Yeah, winter is a very different beast. And when I'm on the allotment and doing the clean up, I'll wash everything and just rinse it in one of these washing bags. They're really great. So just a kind of mesh, and it comes out really dry. It's just as good as a salad spinner. That looks okay. So salad onions, one of my favourite winter veggies. They need a lot of clean up though, so they can be a bit of a drag unless it's a nice day. It's not too bad at the moment, so I'm not going to pick too many, but yeah, I think they're going to clean up really nice. I love these purple stems as well. Almost always worth the effort. So I'm just going to move inside the polytunnel now, just pick a bit of celery, and yeah, it's pretty nice actually, this celery. The smell is already kind of amazing, and yeah, then I'll get on with the salads, I think. It's nice. So quite a few different varieties of lettuce. I'm on the Grenoble Red at the moment, and again, just like everything else, I don't like to take too much off because, you know, I want to keep on harvesting it through winter, so I need to leave a fair amount of leaf on. I know some people, like Charles Dowding's a good example, because he's a market gardener, he's really not harvesting his lettuce in the middle of winter. So I think he does his last pick in sort of mid-December, probably sort of Christmas type kind of harvest, and then he'll leave it until probably like late February or something before I harvest it again. You know, I can't afford to do that, so I'm picking less off each plant than he does. And while I'm going through it, I'm just taking off any kind of damaged leaves as well. I just drop those on the floor and come back to sort those out later. And Rox is another great one. Actually, you know, Rox is one of my favourites for winter. It's even better, it's really fantastic in spring, to be honest, like late February, early spring, when you don't have quite such huge leaves and they're a bit bronzer in colour than they are at the moment. You can just see this sort of little bit of bronzing on the leaves, but you know, they go really quite a deep bronze in spring. They're really lovely. They're not great any other time of the year, so it's really just a winter, early spring lettuce, but you know, it's kind of unparalleled really at that time of year. I think it's even better than Grenoble Red. And I got a few different varieties of these green lettuces, Lolo types. This is the one that I just call Riccia because I can't pronounce the full Italian name, but it's a really gorgeous lettuce all year round. So incredibly sort of crisp and tender, absolutely gorgeous. I just have to be careful not to pick too much of it because I like it so much, and then these are just a sort of random selection of green lettuces, which probably some of these won't make it through winter, so I picked quite a few of these, and the leaves are huge as well, so I don't want them to get any bigger. And I've got some of these lovely red stem pak choi. Why they're called red stem pak choi I don't know, because obviously the leaves are pretty red as well, but anyway, that's what they're called. And yeah, so I tend to put a bit of this in the salad mixes as well, but you know, these are lovely in stir fries and things as well, so yeah, pick a decent amount of this because it doesn't last forever, you know, so there's no point kind of saving it thinking that you're going to be eating it in March or something. It'll probably go to seed sometime in sort of January, February time, so yeah, it's worth taking it while it's at its peak. And it's certainly at its peak at the moment. That is just gorgeous. And the same can't quite be said for the tatsoi. That it seems to have suffered a little bit in that really bad frost, and the stems are not as crisp and sort of crunchy as you'd like them to be. So yeah, so I'm picking quite a bit of this again because I really don't want it to go to waste. The Komatsuma seems to be a bit better. It's still got a really nice stem on it, so I might do a bit more Komatsuma in the future and a little bit less tatsoi. But even so, it's all looking lovely. Well, apart from the odd bit of damage on the leaves. And then I've got these Balak, which is a Selenova sort of style. I'm just going to take all of those off like that, just because they're quite small leaves. But it's rare to get a red lettuce that's sort of reasonable leaf quality at this time of year. So yeah, I might even take two of those. And we'll see if they grow back. Also got some quite nice salad rocket. The leaves are a bit small now, but and it is starting to go to seed. It always does at this time of year, but yeah, it's not bad. I'm pleased I didn't put it in the polytunnel like I did last year, because it's grown just as well in this low tunnel, if not better actually, and that's just given me a bit more space for things that are really thriving in the polytunnel, like the lettuce. And I've just added a bit of baby leaf chard to that salad rocket, so that makes a nice little addition to the salads. And then finally, for the fresh harvest, I've just got a few little leaves off this autumn spinach. So it's not growing very strongly now, this variety, but there is a little bit of new growth, and that new growth is just great in the salad mixes. This bed will be coming out really soon because it'll get planted with brassicas for spring. But right now, it's those aren't ready, so I'm just going to take, as I say, just a few handfuls really of this new growth, and I'm being very choosy because in the salad mixes I only really like really nice quality leaves. So there we go, that's the end result. Not a particularly impressive harvest, but it's only for a few days and it is the middle of winter. So we've got some carrots, some artichokes, some beet leaves and some salad rocket, some parsley, some spinach, some celery, some kale leaves. We've got some red cabbage at home, some Brussels sprouts, some colettes, some leeks, some salad onions, Asian greens and spinach for the salads and lettuce for the salads. And then of course we've got all the stuff that's in the store, the onions, the garlic, the squash, the beetroot and all of that. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So I'm just back on the allotment for a couple of hours, and I thought I would clear this bed of those brassicas that the pigeons ate. And the pigeons did me a favour because when I take them out, I can see this really bad clubroot in this bed. I said before, I suspect I've got clubroot on the whole of my plot, and I'm just kind of discovering it. But not to fear, because what I find is, so far at least, is that provided I plant the brassicas early, so that in the ground, putting good roots down before spring, then I don't know when clubroot really starts to sort of take hold, but it seems to be later on in spring, and so the plants are well established and so they grow strong enough to give me a harvest before the kind of clubroot takes over and destroys the roots. So I'm going to put Asian greens in here and test that theory. I'll probably put them in about late January, and we'll see how they go. And I was going to disassemble one of these beds over here to get a cold frame top, and then I realised I'd put a spare one over the over this bed here with the asparagus in it. So I'm just going to take that, pop it on here, and then it'll all be ready for planting in January. And I'm going to dispose of these. Really happy to have got that done. And that is probably my last allotment job before Christmas.